That can be, but that's not a major issue. The more is the fecal incontinence, and sometimes they have to then go for a secondary repair later on.
Do they always do anesthesia?
No, not always.
My doctor was against it. I mean, not against it, but he just said that he would prefer not to do them because he feels like natural tears like heal faster.
You know,
or something like that.
It's kind of like tonsillectomies or circumcisions. There's two different, thought process, two different ways of thinking about it. I'll tell you a funny story. Can I tell you a story about my first delivery?
No.
Yes.
I tell you all already.
Yeah.
I forgot last semester.
Yeah, last semester.
Okay, I told you one. Okay. But anyway, I remember one of the first things that was how to do an episiotomy. But I saw it under the anxiety of like an emergency. I forgot all about it. I forgot that step. Okay. So in terms of the female sexual response, very analogous to what we saw in the male, we discussed in the male, that the initial phase, erection and lubrication, again, is dependent upon psychic and tactile stimuli. Okay, this is a parasympathetic response, parasympathetic reflex mechanism, and it's going to involve the clitoris, the vaginal mucosa, the bulbs of the vestibule. He said this is erectile tissue surrounding the walls of the vagina, and so these all become incensed and gorged with blood. The breast engorged with blood. We start to get secretions from the Bartholin's glands and the transudate from the vaginal walls that provides lubrication. Again, this is all mediated by the parasympathetic nervous system.
Wait, why did the breast engorge with blood?
Women exhibit more of a systemic response to a sexual encounter. So with women, it's not only the breasts become engorged with blood, you can see they become more flushed. You see more systemic changes. So for women, it's really a systemic response to the sexual encounter.
You ever watch Big Bang?
What's that?
Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, I like that.
Amy or whatever, and she was like attracted to one of the guys. And she
Right,
was
Sheldon.
like,
She did what?
She kept going, and she was attracted to a guy, and they thought she had like a disease or like something, with, like she'd get sick or something, because she got hot flashes.
Right. Well, the funny thing is that show's hilarious. So, in last night's episode, this is a rerun, I showed it plenty of times, Amy did something to deceive Sheldon. And he said, well, in olden times, we would penalize you, or we would put you in a stockade, but you should have to pay a price for this. And he says, I guess we could spank you. And Amy said, yeah, right, he does that. And so it's kind of a funny scene because in Sheldon's mind, he's penalizing her, or he's in a sense torturing her. And for her, she said, "Oh, harder, yeah."
She's a sadist?
Well, she was enjoying it apparently.
No, she just wants.
She just wants physical contact. And Sheldon's kind of an Asperger's type of person. He doesn't want any physical contact.
I never thought of him like that, but that's very true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's
I thought
kind
he
of.
really had, like, at one point.
He doesn't want any physical. People who have autism don't like physical contact.
Right.
They avoid it. They don't want that emotional relationship, or they're not capable of that emotional relationship. And so, kind of Sheldon is kind of on that spectrum,
Right.
that autism spectrum, in a milder form like Asperger's. But I'll tell you a funny story. But I need to close the door.
Oh, wow.
One day, I don't know if y'all know Mary Curry. Mary Curry she works down for the admissions office, right? But she used to be a student here. And Mary Curry is a very emotional student, if you're nice to her, she wants to give you a big hug and all that. So one time, Dr. Ellis was in here, and she said, "Oh, Dr. Ellis, can I give you a hug?" And Dr. Ellis said, "Sure." And so she goes to give him a big old hug, and the whole time he's kind of standing like this. It's kind of like the show.
Yeah, I forgot what I said, like, how are you doing, Dr. Ellis? He goes, I don't know yet. I was like, okay.
It was just so awkward. It was funny. Well, you know, and we had a meeting, and I don't even know why this is such a big issue, but you know, in our department meeting, Dr. Ellis was telling us, now, you should not hug any students, okay? He says, and so I said, well, I've had students that have come, I've seen students hug you. And he said, well, let me say this, you should not initiate a hug. The only way you can hug a student is if they initiate it with you. I think to myself, this is weird.
That just makes it more weird.
That just makes it more awkward, right? Like, you know, you go into
You just like stay there.
right. Just kind of strange. All right. The orgasm, we said that's a sympathetic response, it's not parasympathetic. But when these tactile stimuli reach kind of a crescendo, then that triggers a sympathetic response. And just as in the males, you have contraction of smooth muscle. In the uterus, you begin to get contraction of the myometrium, and it does so in a rhythmic fashion. And it's associated with the systemic response when the blood pressure goes up, the pulse, the respiratory rate. And unlike males, where there is a refractory period following an orgasm, females may experience multiple orgasms during a single encounter. So there's less of a refractory period. That's the point. Okay. What's that all this? Okay, with regard to the breast. The breast, in a sense, are mounted on the pectoralis major muscle. The breasts are really compound alveolar glands. Or another term that's used instead of alveolar is acinar, A-C-I-N-A-R. So it means that there's duct branches. And off of each of these little branches, you have like these grape-like clusters of plants. And these secretory units will be housed within lobes. In fact, the lobes are defined by ligaments that extend from the surface of pectoralis major toward the nipple. So that you can see, for instance, these ligaments extending like this. These ligaments separate one lobe from another, each of which contains these compound acinar glands. These ligaments are referred to as suspensory ligaments. They're also called Cooper's ligaments, because this was the guy that first described them. Cooper's ligaments. Now, what happens through multiple pregnancies, and as a result of lactation, is that these Cooper's ligaments, these suspensory ligaments, become stretched over time. Okay, and that can lead to ptosis of the breast. At one time, ptosis was called Cooper's droop, because of the guy who first studied breast. Now you'll notice that extending from these glands are these lactiferous ducts. And just before they reach the nipple, you have a little dilatation of the duct. That's called a lactiferous sinus. So generally, between feedings, you have a little bit of milk in that lactiferous sinus, so that when the baby sucks on the breast, they get that positive feedback. They sense the milk present now in their mouth, and so they suck harder.
So they won't get that milk right now.
Well, oxytocin, right, but at least it's a stimulus to say, okay, there's milk in there. So these ducts have to be upon the nipple. This area around the nipple, this pigmented area, is called the areola. All right. We talked about some common conditions with respect to the external male genitalia. We have some common conditions in the female. I think, and have y'all all seen venereal warts before? These look like tiny cauliflower-like growths, often from the mucous membrane or from the margin between the skin and the mucous membranes. They're a little bit unsightly. The clinical term for this is condyloma acuminata. Condyloma acuminata. They're caused by a human papillomavirus, HPV. Now, once you develop HPV, you're at increased risk for what? Cervical cancer, right? So you have to be screened more frequently. That's why they're promoting the HPV vaccine. This picture right here is a picture of a primary chancre. This is a painless ulcer that typically accompanies primary syphilis. Now, we said that in women, in about 50% of cases, it's on the pudendum. And that's good because then it's easily recognized and can be treated. Unfortunately, in about 50% of women, it's on the inside vaginal walls where it may go unrecognized. So we talked about how then it can progress to secondary, tertiary syphilis, right? We talked about that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so whereas this syphilis is a larger, painless ulcer, herpes is a bunch of tiny, painful ulcers. In fact, they start off as what appear to be little vesicles or blisters, okay, that then become unroofed. But these are blisters on kind of a red, painful base. One time I had a patient who had come back from Vegas. They went to a bachelorette party, and she developed herpes. You know?
Sometimes what happens in Vegas doesn't stay there.
That's right. It came home with her. She didn't write.
She couldn't use that slip.
Right. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, not in her case. Came right home with her. Cystocele. This is protrusion of the wall of the bladder through the vaginal orifice. This occurs when the pelvic floor becomes weakened, often as a result of multiple pregnancies. So that when the patient goes to strain, and they're having a bowel movement, let's say, the bladder begins to move forward, and it can actually pass through the vaginal orifice. So that's called a cystocele, but the same thing can happen with the rectum, because remember the vaginal floor supports the vagina, it supports the bladder, it supports the rectum. And so usually this is coming up from behind, more posteriorly, but the wall of the rectum can protrude through. That's called a rectocele. Okay. You can also have uterine prolapse. With uterine prolapse, again, it's due to a lax pelvic floor. Here we see the cervix beginning to protrude through the vestibule with increased abdominal straining. So what do you do for a weak pelvic floor? What are those exercises you can do?
Kegels?
Kegels. How would you do a Kegels?
Is that when like stopping?
You exercise the same, you contract the same muscles you would if you were to be peeing and then suddenly stop it midstream. Okay? And you could be doing these Kegel exercises without anybody knowing. You could be doing them sitting down right now. Okay? I just finished doing 2 sets of 10.
So that's like in between.
Yeah, you strengthen, you contract the muscles of the pelvic floor, basically. And again, if it's mild prolapse or it's a mild cystocele or rectocele, sometimes that's effective. You can use what's called a pessary, which is kind of a messy fix to it. A pessary is a little looks like a porcelain device that you insert into the vagina, and it holds things in place. But you have to clean it every day. It requires meticulous care. And the third thing, of course, you can do is simple surgery to fix it. This is a porcelain gland infection. You can have porcelain gland cysts, where they fill up with fluid, or if that fluid becomes infected, then it's a porcelain gland abscess. This was a case I had one time. That's how you all, as residents, you carry around. We used to carry around cameras. Now they cell phones are big. This is a case we had at Pineville, where this was a 19-year-old female. And what's interesting is, according to her story, this was her first sexual encounter. And afterwards, she developed a vaginal discharge. Now, what happens in a public hospital, they do these plastic speculums, which don't work well. They can pinch, and they can pop out. Okay, so they're very uncomfortable, is the point I'm making, as opposed to the metal speculums where you can kind of screw them into place. Okay? So she was uncomfortable, and the whole time she was kind of pulsing around. But you can see the discharge that she has coming from her vagina. And when we did a gram stain, it was full of it. You saw a sea of white blood cells with these. What kind of bacteria would these be? If it's gonorrhea. Am I mistaken, Maria?
Yeah.
This is kind of a board question. It would be gram-negative cocci inside the neutrophils. There are not many organisms that have that appearance, gram-negative cocci. So when you hear that term, you think right away GC. Now, what was unfortunate for her is she had the same discharge coming from her rectum. So yeah, first go round. This was her cervix. And you can see the discharge was coming from her external cervical os. And there was a lot of redness here around the os.
So what would y'all do to take
Antibiotics.
antibiotics? And now clear it up?
Now, you always test them. If someone comes in with GC, you're always going to test them for syphilis. You're always going to do tests for chlamydia as well.